You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Raise a glass, guys, to another good year, and great working with y'all.
Ditto.
Mazel tov, like I am looking forward to 2020.
Yep.
Salud.
Cheers and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. With the holidays rapidly approaching, we decided to make a list of the 49 podcasts we produced over the past year and take some time to talk about some of our favorite episodes. So we each drew up a list of what we each found to be among the more interesting or personally engaging shows, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I was able to whittle my list down to 10 shows, which is about half of my original list of selects, and since I pulled the short straw this morning, I get to go first. And this is in no particular order.
We'll all chime in, though.
We will all chime in, okay, because that's what it's about. Yeah. My first choice here is industrial photography and the recovery of Flight 1549, which you and I were talking about last week. Yeah. And we had two guests on, Steve Mallon and Denise Lockey. And that was a fascinating show to me because it was about the recovery of Flight 1549, which is the aircraft that landed miraculously in the Hudson River.
On the Hudson,
yeah, it was like a crazy day. It was colder than yesterday on that time.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing story. Steve has a reputation of photographing large industrial things, which I find fascinating. And half the time, the things he photographs, he also gets to photograph when they're being dumped into the ocean.
Or taken out of the ocean.
Or taken out of the ocean. He's like, I don't know how he gets these jobs, and he earns a living at it.
Right.
And Denise Lockey was an interesting guest to have on that show because she was actually on the plane, I think in the second row. And having Stephen talk about getting the call that there's a plane down, we need you to photograph the recovery. And then listening to Denise talk about what it was like to be on that flight.
Well, the thing was, there was a photo exhibit of Stephen's work, and it was right around the anniversary, right around, it was January. So almost a year ago.
And there was the Grand Central display, too. Did you guys, either of you guys check that out?
Right.
Exhibit at Grand Central Station. But we happened to meet Denise there that night at the exhibit, and just kind of came up with the crazy idea of having her and Stephen on. And I think it was only a day or so later, or the next day that they came in. Yeah. So it really was but
that was fascinating. It was
his work's
really
beautiful
interesting
too.
Yeah.
His work's great, and her stories were just I don't go on a plane anymore with the same attitude. I look around, I have different little checklists I have on.
Well, while we're on that subject, a sad note, but hopeful, one of our guests this year, Adrienne O'Hannison, has been on the show a lot, and is a freelance photojournalist out of Africa, based in Nairobi. She was in a plane crash this year and survived.
She's still recovering.
She's still recovering, but she survived, and we wish her the best, obviously going forward into 2020.
Yep.
So what else, Alan?
A short interview we did with Albert Watson. Even a short interview with Albert Watson is tremendous.
Right.
And that was at the 2019 Depth of Field conference. Listening to him talk, I've been watching his work for zillions of years. He's a master. He's good at what he does. And we recorded the show at the Depth of Field conference. It was interesting how many people were just gathering around our booth just to soak in his words.
Exactly.
That was kind of neat. It's like he had this, wherever he went, he had this little flock of people following him, looking for wisdom.
Probably the most celebrity-like experience we've had in an interview. The crowd that was gathered around to listen to him.
Yeah. Although
other than
the Norman Reedus, okay, with a whole other story.
People who don't even know we do a podcast. We're like banging on the studio door.
Next on my list is Commitment to Community. Ryan Santos, Michael Young, and the Bronx Documentary Center.
That's on my list.
That's a good one.
That show really touched me a lot. Ryan's photographs were terrific, and I've been following her work ever since. Her dad recently passed, and that was a big topic of that conversation just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Michael Young, I knew nothing of Michael. I've since been following him. He's a wonderful photographer, a really wonderful human being, and you really get the sense that he loves photography. The joy that he gets from it is so apparent. I love watching him as he's progressing, and I really love his photographs.
Progressing fast too. I mean, his work is amazing.
Yes, he really. I mean, his stuff is just great. So 2 points for Michael Young there.
I noticed that he took he's taking a little hiatus from social media. He's usually a pretty regular poster on Instagram and whatnot. But he decided just to take the holidays off and kind of regroup and gather.
I think a lot of people are doing that with Instagram.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
No offense to Instagram or anything. But,
Yeah.
Sorry, Zuckerberg.
But he just, I mean, he's so prolific. I mean, he'll put 3 great photos up in a day. You don't even know when or where they were taken.
Yeah, but, very, very strong eye. I mean, he's right on top of it. He's good.
And they both live in the Bronx.
Yes.
And the conversation was about, basically photographing your community, and so it was a really good talk. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, great energy in the room that day. Car photography from Advertising the Motorsports. That was a great show.
That's on my list too.
Yeah, I used to photograph boats a lot, so I know what it's like to photograph big things that are unwieldy, and you often have no control over a lot of environmental situations. Photographing cars in a studio is a whole other deal, and that was a great topic. I enjoyed that one a lot. Camera clubs and the Coney Island School of Photography. That's my childhood. My dad grew up there. I grew up a mile away from Coney Island in the Marine Park area, so it's part of my life. I still go back there from time to time to shoot. There's something about amusement parks that are bizarre and fascinating.
That one. Yeah.
Especially Coney Island. Yeah, and it's an interesting group of people. That was a fun day we had here. What else we got here? Passionate professionals. We did a show, Wildlife Photography, with Ron McGill, Franz Landing, and Paul North. I just have one thing to say. Ron McGill, I've never seen so much energy in my life.
I agree.
And he's a great photographer and a wonderful speaker. I mean, you can't fall asleep when he's up at the podium.
Yeah. And a great comedian too.
Yes, he's got a great sense of humor. The guy's really good.
Yeah. Well, that was an interesting episode too, followed up by Franz Lanting, who's personality-wise almost the opposite.
Day and night, yeah.
But his work is just off the charts. Yeah.
Art Between Us, photography in the U.S.-Mexico border. I really didn't know anything about Monica Lozano before that. I follow her work now. I found her work to be extremely powerful, and I'll refer to again just the photograph of the contents of children's backpacks and the bags and plastic bags and the things that people take with them when they're going to a new life, the most basic, minimal things that we need as human beings. I found it very personable. Her commitment to the project is phenomenal, and it was an eye-opener for me. Next on my list, Jeff Bridges. What can I say?
Right.
It was an absolute hoot to be sitting here shooting the breeze, talking shop with Jeff Bridges, especially about archaic things like, panoramic cameras that wide looks that break every 3 rolls. That was fun. And it was really nice to see he's just a regular guy. And I've heard that from a lot of other people that know him. He's a real guy. He's awesome. What you see is what you get, and he's honest and he's fun.
And he was warm, and it's
very accommodating.
It's rare.
Yes. Yep. Last on my list, Shadul Alam. Just from a few weeks ago, politics cannot be separated from my art. I found him to be an amazing human being. Listening to him talk, looking at his photographs, listening to his reasoning and what he's gone through, his commitment. It's not lip service. The man is absolutely committed to everything he's talking about. And I was very inspired from him, and I found him to be humbling to be around.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are my 10 favorite, and again, we did 49 shows, and they each have their own merits. These are just 10 that I picked.
Right. So Jason, you ready? You're going to go up next? After Jason goes, I'm gonna give 2 lists. So just to let you guys know, the first list is going to be the shows that perform the best numbers wise, and then I'll give you my list of favorites if they're not already checked off. So, but Jason, go ahead.
The first on my list is dynamic portrait lighting with Alexis Quaresma. That guy, he's just on the ball. He's great. His vision is so precise. And the photos turn out exactly how he envisions them in his mind. And and he's really good at explaining it too.
He's also got a very good handle on marketing and branding, and the fact that after the show, it's like he's got Instagram stories going on.
Yeah.
And he takes
tenacious.
what he has.
He's tenacious.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's good.
But the work, I thought the work is standout too. The lighting is, his work with lighting is awesome. Right. And I don't know anything about lighting, so I was really listening to what he was saying. I'm just starting to kind of mess around with it. I think I picked up some things
he's
from
going to
him.
go for it. And I know he's kind of branching out now into directing and motion, and
Yep.
he's going to be great for that because he sketches out everything.
Yes.
He's going to end up, and also, yeah, he's super driven, but you see the humility in him as well. And as you were saying, after the show, he put out Instagram stories about the episode, like he was our own social media team. So it was great.
No, the guy's a pro, absolute pro.
I mean,
he's earned his position.
Cool.
So my next one
At the top of Jason's list.
That's
right.
he's earned. Yeah, exactly. Now he's made it. The Sports Illustrated covers, all that stuff. Now forget it.
He's got the Jason Tables seal of approval.
Yeah.
It's like good housekeeping.
Top of the list. Okay. So my next one was the copyright infringement superhighway
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
with David Deal.
Yeah.
I thought that was super fascinating.
It was.
Yeah,
It was really good.
Yeah. And I think we should have him back.
Well, that's already in the works. We're I don't want to speak too soon, but we're talking about doing maybe a serial segment with him about some of the cases he's working on.
Because there's always new stuff. In fact, one of our listeners actually contacted
Yeah.
him.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, go ahead.
And shout out to Chris Ortiz. He actually hit up David Deal after the episode, and they have some kind of case brewing and some kind of copyright infringement case, and
Yeah, it worked out well for
hopefully
him.
that works out. Yeah.
All right, next.
So next, let's see. Oh, It Is What It Is. Mark Mann on portrait photography.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was awesome, and he has such a unique, resolute style.
Mm-hmm.
A Mark Mann photo when you see one. His work with depth of field and how he, gets these expressions from these celebrities that he shoots. I thought that was a really interesting episode, and I liked more than anything the way he kind of. The interplay that he talks about with his subjects to get them to get the poses and stuff, I thought that was kind of eye-opening for me because it's such a dimension of photography that I haven't explored personally that I think is important, especially for portraiture.
Yeah, he tells some good stories. He told Obama's portrait was a good story, and
Yes.
a couple other.
Yeah.
He's shot all. It's a who's who of fame and celebrity. A great sense of humor too.
Great sense of humor.
And the other day he posted this thing where he was with one of the Muppets. I guess he shot the Muppets, so he did this little interaction conversation with one of them, and it was kind of directed at his young son. It was really, really adorable. You gotta check it out.
Yeah, he's a character, great guy.
Yeah.
So next, let's see. Well, this was a recent one. In fact, the last one that came out, Imagined Reality with Eric Johansson. I just think his work is awesome, and it's unlike anything I've seen. The way he has lighting in the scene and then replaces it, and then
It's photo illustration is how I.
Yeah, but
it is.
It's amazing.
It's
stuff.
really interesting what he's doing, and it's old school as well as it's so digitally tech.
But it's shot. Everything's shot so well. I mean, he's still a photographer.
He's a master
still,
of
He's a craftsman.
perspective
Yes.
and scale. It's just really.
It's almost like a sculptor or like like an engineer.
They're
in a way.
2D
Yeah.
constructions in many ways.
And the way he talked about the perspective needing to be right and mapping it out ahead of time, I thought it was really cool.
Well, what I actually loved about, and I've mentioned this to you, Jason, the other day, the episode was really clean. Like it was through Skype, but it didn't feel like there was a distance at all. And it seemed like we touched on all the subjects without having to force it. And there was the perfect mix of gear talk, technique talk, and stylistic philosophy talk, and it just kind of flowed really easy. I thought it was almost kind of quote unquote the perfect episode. And
So the next one on my list is humor, vulnerability, and Instagram. A talk with artist Mitra Saburi and Ben Zank. These are two unusual artists that are, use a lot of humor in their work. Very, very modern, I would say, photographers that are kind of exploring discomfort and humor in their work. And it was a different kind of show. I don't know. It was a relaxed show. We touched on some music stuff. It was like...
We even had them do traffic and weather.
We did traffic and weather. Yeah.
Which was like...
They come from a different angle in their work. So we came from a different angle. The show ended up that way, and I like that about it.
Yeah, we experimented a little.
We experimented,
yeah.
Mitra's videos are like so far out of the box you can't see the box anymore.
The box got thrown away.
I mean, their stuff is it's funny. It makes you uncomfortable. It's beautiful. It's all those things
and vulnerable.
Yeah,
one of the
and
things,
it's vulnerable.
Which they show
absolutely.
their vulnerability, which is nice.
And Ben's more of a straight photographer. Technically, it's always very on point. Really, really nice. I mean, Mitra is more mixed media, I guess you'd call it. Right. So my My next pick is extreme weather photography and storm chasing with Jordan Cantello and Jim Reed. Jim Reed was covering climate change for a 30-year period. Jordan, he shoots with a medium format. He shoots, I think, with the what is it?
The Pentax.
The Pentax 645Z.
The Z.
His images are incredible. Such clarity. These crazy cloud formations that we don't really see in the United States.
Right. Yeah, and the lighting was crazy.
Yeah, and with great lighting, and he's a real technician, that guy.
And I mean, for our listeners, I think if you hadn't checked out his work yet, go for it because it pushes all the right buttons. Let's put it that way. Because it's medium format, the resolution is high, the landscape work, the moment of impact with the lightning. It's just really
it's great landscape. I mean, there's a lot of great landscape photographers out there now, but he's covering like an angle that is not normal. Right. I mean, it's because and
he's out there anyway. He's like a fire prevention guy out in Australia. So,
that's true. That's right. Yeah.
And he also has a nice social media following, and he was kind enough to post the podcast, and it got tons of comments from Australia. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And my last pick is Milk Factory, a Mother's Day chat with Corinne May Botts.
She photographs, amongst other things, she's done other work where she's photographed spaces. But in this case, it was lactation rooms that are in corporate offices or wherever.
The composition matters so much with that kind of subject matter because it's really mundane. There's not much eye candy there, but she does a great job. Yep.
Cool. I'm surprised that you picked that one, but I get it. And I thought that was a pretty interesting show for us to do and a little bit oddball. Alan, you don't remember that show because you were not here.
Yeah.
Is that why I'm sitting there scratching my head?
Yeah.
You weren't here.
That's right.
Yeah,
you were in
we had a
China.
guest host.
You were in China.
That's right.
And we had
I took a wrong turn.
We had
I know I shouldn't have
me like that.
I shouldn't have followed Waze that day. I knew it.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. And first of all, let me do the list of the episodes that performed the best. And this is combining the numbers that we get from the different podcast platforms. So, Passionate Professionals, Wildlife Photography with Ron McGill, Franz Lanting, and Paul North. It was
really
been
okay.
The best performer of the year so
far.
Wow,
okay.
I didn't include all of the YouTube views. I just kind of took a pretty quick look at what we did, and
of course that's been out for quite a while.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's some more recent ones that will probably overtake it, and I'll mention those. But right now, that's number one, and it kind of surprises me a bit the ones that are doing the best.
Can I guess the second one?
Yeah,
Mark Mann.
He's up there, but no.
Oh.
That life and photography balance is up there. And that's an oddball that we put together with 3 different interviews, including Erin Babnick, whose home had caught on fire, and she had to readjust her life to photography, and also Cara Pelletieri and her work out of Montauk. So it was a nice, interesting little episode, and people seem to like it. Mark Mann is up there. Memory Card Myths and Storage Solutions is a really good performer, and it gets a lot of comments.
I learned a lot from that show.
There was somebody said in a comment, a show is pretty good when they can make an episode about memory cards interesting. So I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And the other really good performers of the year were Adventure Photography with Chris Burkhardt, and I guess that's pretty clear why, because of his name, Burkhardt alone, and of course Jeff Bridges. Both of those were later in the year,
right? And
ultimately will end up probably being the best performers when you look back on them, and it makes sense.
Chris Burkhardt just has such a huge fan base.
Right. So let me run down my list of favorites, which several of you guys have already spoken about, but let me see what I have here that you haven't mentioned. Well, I did like the Commitment to Community with Raina and Michael Young, for sure. And the Jeff Bridges was fun just because it was Jeff Bridges. And
how could you go wrong?
Yeah, and it's been
the dude.
A lot of these are favorites because they were a long time in the making and they kind of happened. And some of them because they just happened out of nowhere, like the Corinne Botts and the Shahid Al-Alam. I mean, this guy, I mean, if you get a chance to speak to somebody like that, you have to take it, right? And I really like the Eric Johansson, as we spoke about. But Mick Rock, we didn't speak about that episode.
Now, he was on my original list. I did.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I don't know if it was my favorite episode, but it was a lot of fun. That we went out to his house in Staten Island. We kind of, filled up the van and went out there, and he's such a character.
He's a rock star.
Yeah, he's a rock star. Yeah. So
just walking in the door with that look in his eyes saying, "Who are you? Why are you here?"
That was worth it a lot.
How many are you?
Right.
And then he's got that English rock star kind of thing going on. Right. Talking like a member of I don't know, Oasis or something.
Yeah. But he was great, and he was super welcoming. And we were sitting in his kitchen, so
I know.
How can you be better than that in Staten Island? Anyway, let me I mentioned this last one. Let me just blast through the list here to see if there's something that we were forgetting about, and maybe just throw out some names, things you didn't mention. The do-it-yourself camera makers, that was a pretty fun episode.
Yeah, isn't that on my list?
It's on your list, but you didn't mention it.
No, I skipped it here.
Okay.
It was on there, yes.
That must have been early in the year.
That was middle of the year, right in the middle.
was?
Yeah. Lost Rolls America, middle of the year also. An episode on printers was pretty good. You mentioned the copyright infringement superhighway. I like that one a lot. Last night at an event, we saw Ashok Sinha. His episode was good.
That was
called
really good.
Pictures of Buildings and Building of Communities.
And that came out of nowhere too, because we had
Right.
we had a bunch of interviews that day,
Right.
and the two that became episodes were his, Ashok's, and also Albert Watson. So I think that he was using good company there.
In the Bag, about camera bags. That was kind of fun. We didn't mention Vince Aletti, Issues, which was, I thought, a really interesting.
He was on my original
Vince,
list also.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, this guy's a legend, is a photo critic and curator, and he has a new book, which we
Guy knows.
profiled and talked
he's
about
an
him.
expert on this
It
stuff.
was great. Yeah, that's enough for me, I guess. But I do want to get to my favorite one of the bunch, which is called Conflict Photography, Motivation and Consequence.
Yes. No. I'm actually ashamed of myself for not having that on the list. And I also skipped over the do-it-yourself camera makers, which I love. But no, you're right about that.
Yeah.
That episode was an eye-opener. It was informative. It was very sobering.
Yeah.
And the two people we had on were just so well-versed in the subject.
Right.
It was a fascinating topic.
Right.
Let's mention the names.
Well, yeah, it was Anthony Feinstein, who
Right.
is a professor of psychiatry at the University of Toronto, and he had authored a book on conflict photography
Yeah.
and the psychological effects, basically, of it, and profiling some photographers. And then the other guest was Santiago Lyon, who is now he's a very well-known editor. He was the head of AP for a while,
Right.
but also a conflict photographer in the 80s and 90s. And there was a few moments where they were reflecting, especially Santiago, I felt, on his own career and some of the things he must have seen and done, and people he's even lost, colleagues. So I thought it was a really
It was a side of the story that no one ever really talks about, wants to think about, but the people who are out there supplying the photographs that we look at and take for granted in the magazines and online, these people really are paying a price for that stuff quite often, physically, mentally, emotionally.
Great point.
And they're literally putting their very existence on the line to get these pictures out there. And both of our guests just put together such a powerful picture. Yeah, and we have some guests that are experts on topics, but not every guest that we have has lived through what they're an expert on.
Exactly.
They might have studied it, but they didn't live it.
He hosted the Pulitzer event
right.
years
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
So that was
several years ago.
technically the first interview we did with him, but this technically the second time he's been on the show.
True. Yep. True. Yeah. So that was good. And, again, I'm looking back, a pretty interesting year. I mean, wrapping it up with Shahid Al-Alam and Jeff Bridges near the end of the year is pretty good. And you guys touched on some really interesting episodes. The U.S.-Mexico border. I'm just looking back at the list now. Albert Watson. Oh, one other one, The Life and Death and Life of Life magazine.
Yeah.
We had the former editor-in-chief, Bill Shapiro of Life magazine. That's pretty good. So, yeah. Another good year. 4 years.
It was a good year.
The variety of topics we've hit, I mean, it amazes me. And I tell you, I got to give kudos to the two of you guys who come up with a majority of these topics here.
Oh, you've come up with plenty too. So,
yeah, but you guys do a lot, and I just want to publicly acknowledge all that stuff, that you guys do a hell of a job here. And on that same topic, if any of our listeners, if this a topic that you're interested in that we haven't touched on, drop us a line.
Yeah.
I mean, really, seriously, this is our show, but it's your show also. And if, again, we're always open to new ideas.
Suggest something through the Facebook group, send us an email.
One thing we didn't mention are all the gear episodes we did. If you want to call them that, we just did the cameras of the year. We did a walkthrough at Photo Plus, and a couple other episodes throughout the year. So if you do want to kind of check the links to learn what's out there, and also to help support our show by clicking on those links, please do.
Okay, that's a wrap of the last show of our 4th year. It's amazing. If you are not currently a subscriber to our show, we can fix that. All you have to do is head on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Overcast, or Spotify, sign up, and boom! boom, you'll never miss another episode. And best of all, it's absolutely free. You can also find us on the B&H Explorer website, as well as the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. For now, my name is Alan Weitz, and on behalf of John Harris and Jason Tables, happy holidays, happy New Year, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in today.